Now, this fine fellow is the Dinky 367 Space Battle Cruiser, and it was one of the very last toys to appear in the normal consumer trade catalogue for Dinky toys, and it was made sort of very late 70s, just a bit into the 80s possibly, and I never had one of these, but I quite like the look of it. It's got rear engines that are slightly reminiscent of the Eagles, I think, and the sort of rocket pods. I'm not really sure where they're from. There's some debate over the background to this, apparently, because some people think it might have been derived from a Jerry Anderson concept called Star Cruiser 1, and Star Cruiser 1 had these sort of multiple rocket firing pods, but I think the UFO Interceptor also had them. So I'm kind of wondering if it was some sort of hybrid, and they sort of, they kind of borrowed from various other sources, because they would have been running out of time at this point. The factory was probably on the verge of being shut down, and they were in trouble basically at this point. Actually, looking at the UFO Interceptor, I could have sworn I might be thinking of Skydiver. Actually, I think it's Skydiver that has the rocket pods. It's not the Interceptor. Apologies. But the thing that makes me chuckle about this is that the missiles that fire from these pods, and this is a really nice version of it I managed to pick up totally accidentally. It's one of those eBay stores that has completely random ephemera, and then all of a sudden you see something that you sort of go, oh, that's a Dinky toy. So anyway, and it's complete. You can see he's got the pilot is in there, which is often something that's missing, and it's got the canopy as well, which is in really nice shape, and it's got the engine block is intact. So all in all, it's doing pretty well for itself. So if I switch off the turntable, I'm going to show you just how lethal these missiles are. So brace yourself. So that still comes down very, very happily. You can see on the bottom there all the sort of normal Dinky notings, but notice there isn't a date. There's one thing that's omitted here. It doesn't seem to have a manufacturing date, so I think they were starting to cut corners perhaps a little bit at that point. I do think the engines are somewhat. They're not actually. Funny enough, I've got my Dinky there. Those are the Eagle engines, and these are there. And so actually, they are quite distinctly different. They're not related, I don't think. So this is what made me chuckle. The first time I accidentally hit one of these missiles. I'm going to fire this one off, and it's probably going to be difficult for you to get a sense of how far it goes. You can see how fast it goes. You see how far it ricocheted backwards? That thing is lethal. I mean, look at the size of it. It's huge. It's like this enormous missile. I mean, that could have taken a pet's eye out very, very easily, and I'm sure, I dare say, a few pets were exposed to them, unfortunately. But it is quite a lethal thing, and it's got, even now, these are sort of 40-year-old springs, and they're clearly still lethal potentially. I mean, if I fire this one straight up, you'll see how long it takes to come down again. But I bet it'll hit the ceiling. It very nearly hit the ceiling, and I've got quite a tall ceiling in here. The curious thing about these is that they do drop off very easily as well, and they slot back on again quite happily. But I imagine that's why a lot of them could have been very easily lost, because they're not actually fixed on. I noticed that there's some history to these and the models at the time, which indicates that they were reusing the bodies of some of their jets in order to come up with these sort of late models. And I think that this might have been a wing slot at one point for something like a Tornado, and I think that's why they've got the gaps there. So they just designed a missile launcher to hook into the gap, which it does quite happily. So it literally just pops in there like that, and then slots backwards, and then that's it, and it's on again. So it's clever. I mean, I quite like that. It's still very, very heavy. Still a lot of metal in there, So still a perfectly, sort of sensible toy. I mean, that front part is pretty lethal. I mean, that's only sort of rubbery, so it's like an air intake at the front there. But by God, you'd know if someone connected with you with that, you'd know about it, know two ways about it. But it's it's a nice little sort of, it's a nice metal toy, and this was probably getting towards the end of the time when toys were regularly done in metal. Although I do remember having some small Star Wars toys that were largely die cast, but only the smaller ones. Once they got into the bigger ones, obviously they were they couldn't be metal because they'd have been too heavy. Now the Space Battle Cruiser here also has a compatriot that came out at the same time. You may have seen him before. This is a very, very shoddy version of it that I picked up. This is the Trident Starfighter. Now, if I just have a quick look at my reference site for such beasts, where are we? That's not it. Yes, 362. So 362 was the Trident Starfighter. And again, it was in the catalogues with this Space Battle Cruiser, and it is exactly the same era for exactly the same reasons, basically, because the factory was on its last legs, and these two were released as sparring partners. Basically, it should have a sort of emblems here and here, and a missile launcher here. This is how the missiles would have launched out the back there by that button pressing down. So that's a very, very, very play worn one, but you can see it's still got the Dinky toy Trident Starfighter. It's very clearly identified on the bottom. Apparently some of these went on to become Marks and Spencer's toys, and indeed some even went on to form the basis of the later Zygon range. And if you have a look on the channel here, you'll see one of those Zygon ships, which I think is formed off the back of the Space Battle Cruiser here. So have a look for those if you're sort of curious about how they developed. The one I'm thinking of is it's called the Zygon Marauder, and I'm just looking at a picture of it online now, and it is definitely the same body. And what they actually did was they put on a big nose on the front here to actually sort of guard against the sort of damage I was talking about, I suspect. But they are basically the same thing, just slightly recoloured. And I mean, I'm looking at the photo. They're actually, the problem is that my Marauder was in a box, which I was hesitant to get it out of. But looking at the image online, it is pretty much bang on the same thing. So clearly, again, this was an attempt to sort of use models that they already had and sort of, recolour them and just do them in slightly different ways to try and make the most out of what they had left in stock to get them on shelves. But it is pretty much the same thing. It's got all they really did was they put a sort of a tail on the back here, so it's got a sort of big spoiler, and they've changed the missile pod somewhat. But basically, it's just red here. Exhaust are pretty much the same, but it's got a red nose cone. It's basically the same. So I was going to do that comparison, but I don't really need to anymore because it's clear that they are directly related to one another. So I think that's it for this one. It'd be interesting to see if the Marks and Spencer's ones still exist on eBay at all, because they're coloured very differently, but basically exactly the same model. But I haven't ever seen any of them in the flesh. So I think that's it for the time being. I've got some Corgi and Matchbox stuff to show you, but I might do a little bit more research on those before I do. So I will say cheers for now.